So depending on when you're watching this video, Age of Calamity is coming out at the end of this week. Obviously, I'm super pumped about that. And I know a lot of you guys are too. So as we get a new Zelda on the Switch, I want to take a look back at all the Zelda games on the Switch and put them in order, from the worst one to the best one. What's up, guys? Welcome back, or welcome in for the first time. If you are new here, do me a favor. Check the link in the description and make sure you go become a member of our Discord. We're in there every day talking about all kinds of stuff, including Zelda. So make sure you get in there and I'll see you after this video. All right, so there are 7 Zelda games on the Switch, and I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the order that I think they belong in. Now, again, this is my order. It's okay if you don't agree with me. Definitely let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear the order you would put these games in. And another thing I want to say before we get into this is none of these games are bad. In my opinion, I don't think there really is a bad Zelda game. Well, most Zelda games are good. But as I said, there are 7 on the Switch. So pretty much the worst one to me on the Switch has absolutely got to be Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link. Now, I know there are some people out there that are going to completely disagree with this, and that's okay. But to me, this one was kind of an experiment gone wrong. I just kind of feel like Nintendo may have tried to tweak what they did with the first one way too much, and it just didn't really work out. At least in my opinion, anyway. I don't know. To me, this has got to be the worst one on the Switch, and probably, I'll admit, probably the one on the Switch that I've spent the least time with, because honestly, I just don't like it. So I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on that one, but yes, at number 7, I have to say The Adventures of Link is gonna start the list out at the bottom. Now, at number 6 on the list for me, again, this one may come with a little bit of controversy, but to me, it's gotta be Cadence of Hyrule. Now, before you go crazy, let me explain. You have to remember this. There are only 7 Zelda games on the Switch. And as I said, most of these aren't bad games. This one just wasn't really my style of game, really. Now, while it is a Zelda game on the surface, if you don't know anything about this game, it's actually a sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer, which this game follows pretty much in that game's footsteps almost exactly. It's done a lot of things that that game didn't do well, better. And obviously, when you put a Zelda skin on anything, it's gonna be better. But to me, this type of game, even though it is a Zelda game, it doesn't really have that story that draws me in to Zelda in general. It doesn't really have the same gameplay. Yes, it looks like a Zelda game on the surface, but it's a randomly generated type of game that you can run through over and over, and every time it's gonna be different. But for me, doing all the rhythm stuff the entire game, not really my thing. And to be honest, this one really did not keep my interest all that long. I did run through the game once, maybe twice, but that's about it. I mean, the fact that Zelda is a playable character is pretty cool, but again, to me, this one falls a little short compared to the rest, so this one's gonna be at number 6. All right, this is a tough one for me, but the game that I have to put in the 5th spot is the original Hyrule Warriors. And I know a lot of people love that game as well. As I said, still a good game. Now, for me, this one's kind of missing what Cadence of Hyrule was missing, and that's a good story. Now, there is a story in Hyrule Warriors, but the original Hyrule Warriors is more of a fan service type of game than a story-driven type of game. They take things from different parts of the Zelda universe and just kind of mash them all up. And there was a story, but to me, you know, not being canon, the type of gameplay that happens in those Warriors games does get repetitive after a long time, especially if you're not that into the story and what's going on, which, to be honest, I wasn't. But obviously, that's why I'm looking forward to Age of Calamity so much. The story is a canon story that is going to go right along with Breath of the Wild. Not only that, it looks like the gameplay is going to be switched up a little bit more, so I think I'm going to like this one a whole lot more. And again, it's not like I didn't like the original Hyrule Warriors. I bought it twice. I bought it on the Wii U and I bought it on the Switch. I didn't buy it on the 3DS. I figured that's probably too much. But I did give it a second chance on the Switch, and I still just, you know, it was okay. All right, now we're starting to get into a little bit more difficult territory. Again, all of these have actually been very hard to rank. You know, only having 7 games on the Switch, I thought this was gonna be easy, but this is actually really difficult. But number 4 for me has got to be the original Zelda. Now, this one came out a little bit before my time. Now, I was playing the NES, obviously, but a game like Zelda at that time, at my age, wasn't really something that I was really into. But you know, having gone back and played this game several times now, you can see how much inspiration Breath of the Wild takes from this game. This is a Zelda game where you just don't get any type of a tutorial or anything like that at all. You really don't even get any direction on where to go. They pretty much just drop you down there, you see a hole to go get your sword, and that's really it. From there, you pretty much make your own story. It really is amazing to see that game and then look at Breath of the Wild and just see how they've come back to that type of formula, but how much it's advanced over the years. Really amazing. So the original Zelda, number 4. Number 3 has to go to, oh, this one was the hardest one. This is the hardest one. Number 3 has to go to Lynx Awakening. The remake of Lynx Awakening, in my opinion, was awesome. I was one of the people at first who didn't like the art style. I was very hard on it at first, just like I kind of was with Wind Waker back in the day. But it did grow on me over time. As we started seeing more and more about the game, more trailers came out, we saw more footage, we got a little bit more information about what the game was gonna be like. It did start to grow on me, and I do like it now. Honestly, I really hope we get more games in that style. I'd love to see other older handheld Zelda games come over to the Switch in that style. This game did have one small issue, and maybe a bigger issue to some other people, but it did have some minor frame rate issues. Now, in older top-down Zelda games, you would usually have a square, and as you moved into the next square, it would kind of load over into the next screen. Now, they try to take all of that away completely in the new Link's Awakening, but the problem is when you go to the new areas, since it's trying to be seamless, it does have a lot of frame rate issues as it's trying to catch up and, you know, build what you're looking at on the screen. Now, obviously, being a huge Zelda fan, I didn't really care that much. It didn't bother me a whole lot, but by the time I had finished the game, it was something I was noticing more and more as it went on. Still not a huge deal, but it was something that did upset a lot of people, and I can definitely understand that. Okay, so we have 2 left, and I'm pretty sure at this point you probably know which order they're going in, but number 2 has got to be A Link to the Past. This is the game that originally released on the Super NES, and you can get it through the Super NES online app right now on the Switch. It's absolutely amazing. This, to me, is, if you've seen my top 5 Zelda video, this is a top 5 Zelda game for me. This is one that I have lots and lots of history with. It means a lot to me. So when they announced the Super Nintendo games coming to the Switch, and this was one of them, obviously, I was very excited about that. As I said in that video, I was still probably a little bit too young to enjoy this game when it first came out. I did watch my brother and my stepdad both play through it like 4 times each. So I was very familiar with the game by the first time I actually played through it myself. And since then, I've played through it a million times. This is one that never gets old for me. So A Link to the Past is number 2, but of course, the best Zelda game on the Switch, by far, is Breath of the Wild. Now, as I said when I talked about the original Zelda game, you can see what they've done with this game is absolutely amazing. Completely open world, you can pretty much just go do whatever you want, whenever you want. With Breath of the Wild, they took Zelda and completely flipped it on its head and made it into this new thing that at the same time is so familiar that it just worked. It worked perfectly. It was something at first I was a little bit worried about when they started really giving us some details on Breath of the Wild, but at this point, I don't see how we can go back. I mean, yeah, we need dungeons. We need better bosses. We definitely need better bosses. But this open world, or open air as Nintendo calls it, style of Zelda game, it just works. All the exploration and all the stuff that you can do in Breath of the Wild is really everything that all the other ones are missing, because the stories and just the way these games are played, while all the other games in the franchise to me are great, they all lack the exploration. That's the biggest thing that all of them don't have. I mean, obviously, they're older games and, you know, the exploration has become a bigger part of them as we've gone. Like, take Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Field and look at Twilight Princess's Hyrule Field. You can see them moving towards that open world type of experience as we've gone along here. But with Breath of the Wild, they just knocked down all the walls and said go wherever you want. So if you're a new Switch owner and you are trying to decide which Zelda game you should play first, it's easily Breath of the Wild. While it is a completely different experience than most other Zelda games, it's the best you're gonna get on the Switch for now. But don't forget about the rest of the games on this list either, because even though, you know, some of them had to be in spot 7 and 6 and 5, those aren't bad games. I mean, really, just somebody's gotta be a winner and somebody's gotta be a loser today. But guys, that is all I have for this one. Let me know your list. Take those 7 Zelda games, put them in a list in the comments below. Let me know what you think of my list. And with all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video. Make sure you are subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.